Charlottesville is located in central Virginia. We have about 44,000 people, about 67% white, 20% African American, and 13% other minorities. We're also a university town with a major medical facility. And with this comes typical characteristics of a university town. We have a very well-educated population that is extremely involved in our school division and in our city. And then we also have some individuals that are on public housing and assistance. So we have the gamut. Our schools have approximately 4,400 students. We service 2-year-olds and early intervention programs all the way to some adult education programs. We have 6 elementary schools, 1 upper elementary school, a middle school, and a high school, an alternative education school, a post-high program, and an adult education, all within our small town. So with this as our context, let me start by saying that our speaking engagements, I think it's important to note that we're elected school board. So we have 7 members on our board with elections on a 4-year cycle, which means every 2 years there's another election for half of the board. And either they roll off of the board or they come up for re-election. So certainly with this election, we talk with the public in several different venues. We're knocking on doors, we're debating, we're having public forums. And this is a really great opportunity for members of the school board that are re-election or potential members to express their ideas about the schools and, quite frankly, to educate the public about what we're doing in the schools. So once we're elected, we have formal monthly meetings that are televised and where we discuss budget, curriculum, staffing numbers, a variety of issues with the school division. And then after the meetings, we actually do a radio show to give a summary of what the board is working on. And then we also work closely with our city council. We actually have monthly luncheons where we present issues that are going on with the school division. And I actually spoke with the city council this year about our budget. Our staff presented the numbers, and then I gave a kind of overview of what the school division is all working on and how we affect our community. We are also assigned committees in different categories from, say, special education to the capital improvement plan. So each of us is on these committees. We speak about what the board is working on, and we also listen to what the issues are with that committee. As well as the committees, we go to a lot of PTO meetings at each of our schools where it's a great opportunity to hear what the school itself is doing, but also to share with them any new initiatives we're working on. We're also actually liaisons to our state and federally elected officials. So with those meetings, the board basically focuses on legislation that we feel would benefit our students. This year I had the opportunity to represent our school board at and the Virginia School Board Association at the federal level, where I spoke with our congressmen and senators about the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. I spoke about the necessity to fully fund this act. It's a federal mandate, and it helps improve the livelihood of some of our neediest students. So as well as all of those other responsibilities, we often have press contacting us about things that are going on in the schools. So, and truly, because Charlottesville is a pretty small town and pretty active, we end up discussing school issues at the grocery store, the playground, and lots of other places. So I would like to invite Dr. Atkins to add to this conversation.
Amy, thank you so much. And I think you made a great point when you described our community as a well-educated university town. And with that, each of our board members, when they start with our board, they bring to our board a pretty impressive skill set and passion for public education. So we're constantly looking and trying to determine where's the best fit as far as public speaking, engaging our community, what would each of our board members individually be passionate about and be most versed on in communicating. So we look for those opportunities and use those as entry points to get messages and engage the community. We I'm going to give you a couple examples of when that has happened. I serve on a number of boards, and Amy, you know many of those boards that I serve on. So anytime I'm having a board meeting and we have discussions around whether it be your practical issues, political issues, or just simply issues that keep the community informed, I look for opportunities to pull my board members in to help to engage the community in the discussions. So very recently, I was serving on a board. It was our Regional Chamber of Commerce board, and there was discussion going on around career and technical education. Perfect opportunity. We have a career and technical education center, so therefore I could pose to the board that we get one of our board members in to present to the chamber about our technical education program. So actually this morning at 7:15, Willa Neal, one of our board members, and I presented at the Chamber of Commerce meeting. And we talked about, and the presentation was to the Board of Directors, which I sit on, but we presented to them our vision and our strategic direction for developing students along career and technical education avenues, how we're going to get credentials for those students, and how we're creating with that vision a regional approach to credentialing students. Willa left the meeting and she seemed to be very pleased. She was well versed in the topic, and I think the business community appreciated hearing that voice, having someone from the board. Another example, we were at a Virginia School Boards Association meeting, a conference, and during the luncheon, our Secretary of Education, Secretary of Education for the Commonwealth, was speaking at the luncheon. And there were several board members who were at the lunch table with me. So we sort of made a plan that when the secretary passed by us, one of the board members would stand up, introduce herself to the secretary, and see if she could get an audience with the secretary. Well, our plan worked. Secretary came down the aisle. The board member stood up, with all the grace and dignity that you can stand up in a luncheon and kind of step out and stop someone's forward movement. So she grabbed the secretary's attention, engaged in a conversation, and in just a few minutes I saw the secretary pulling out her card. So we had an audience with the secretary. So then again, here was an opportunity for a board member to get before an elected official and to share information about our school division and what we're doing. Those are always positive opportunities, and we really appreciate each one of them. One final example I can give you is last fall, I was asked to present at a university on some of the innovative initiatives in our school division. So I invited the board, another board member to go with me and to co-present. That turned out to be another win for us personally, the board member and myself personally, in relationship building, but also a win for our school division. I think being well informed as a board member about the programs and the initiatives that are going on in the school division sends a strong message to everyone that there's cohesion, there's collaboration and communication going on in the school division. It gives everyone a good feeling. Each year at our school board retreat, our board members ask staff to bring to them a listing of all of the reports that we have presented to our board during the school year. And we take a reflective look at that, and there are several questions that we ask ourselves. Did staff provide board enough information that they were well informed? And what additional information and additional reports and should we provide for the board in the upcoming school year with the initiatives that we will have to handle in mind? That helps our board to get an in-depth understanding of new initiatives, of everyday concerns or everyday achievements. That's a major way that we inform our board. Once we book the board member to present, we assign our PR person, our public relations person, to work with the board member, answer any questions that that board member may have, pull out some of those reports excuse me, that we've given to board members, and review those details of the reports with the board members so that they are, it's just to remind them of what we've discussed. We also work on developing PowerPoint presentations and helping to rehearse with board members those PowerPoint presentations. 2 or 3 times we will review with the board member. That presentation will sit and listen, and we would be that critical voice as the board member is preparing for the presentation. We give those talking points, which are critical to have the presentation to flow very nicely. And we also do a little legwork for the board member in helping to describe the audience that will be receiving the presentation for the board member. And if we can, ahead of time, we will give a preview of the presentation to whomever would be hosting us and get feedback from them to make sure that we're on point with what they are expecting from us. Amy, did I leave out anything? Anything else you want to add?
Well, as Rosa has discussed, our monthly meetings really are about our staff reports, and they're critical, as that is typically what we're discussing during the meeting. And I think the support the staff gives us during our radio talks is also critical. It's kind of a wrap-up of what has gone on in the meeting and kind of some of the initiatives we're working on in the school division. But I'd also like to say that we have our own board protocol. Because there are 7 different people on the board, it means 7 different interests, time, commitment, opinions, you name it. Everybody has varying degrees of interest levels of things, as Dr. Atkins has mentioned, and I think that can be kind of difficult for the staff. So there's a couple of protocol key components that I think, first, when the community members may bring a specific incident with their child to us, we encourage them to go through the teacher, the counselor, the principal, and then to the administration. The role of the school board is not to intervene on specific situations. It's to facilitate the inquiry to the right staff person. So I think that's one protocol measure that does help the board stay focused. And another one is that when we have our monthly meetings, the school board members are asking for additional information, and sometimes that list can become very long, and I think it can be very difficult for staff to come up with all the reports. So we have made it kind of our rule that if it takes a staff member longer than 2 hours to collect the information we've asked, that the majority of the board has to vote that they would also like the information. For example, if I would want more information on our Spanish program, well, I would have to make sure that 4 other members of the board wanted this information as well. And I think what it helps us do is makes us accountable to the questions we're asking, to make sure that it helps us to make a decision or that it helps us with a discussion, rather than just coming up with something that I might have a passing interest in. And I think this has really helped the board to kind of focus in on areas that we're trying to work on. Another thing that we do is that when there's any responses that are being given from the email requests that we receive or the press, that the board chair is the one that responds to these emails and press questions. In this way, we have one voice, and the responsibility is understood in the board who's going to be responding. Otherwise, we'd have 7 different responses to all the questions, and it can get a little bit overwhelming. So I think that helps as well to focus the board. The other way, my 4th way, would be that we maintain a professional culture and we respect each other, which I think we've done a great job with. I really enjoy having 7 different people. I know that Dr. Atkins can appreciate that we all have different interests, and it really does help shape a more well-rounded discussion. And I do believe that we come up with decisions that are much better thought of because of all the interests of the board. But, we don't always agree. but we agree to disagree and move on. So I think that's been really great. And as I can say, the staff's role is critical in this process, filling our inquiries and helping us to get the message, solidified message out to the public. So I think it's hard for us to quantify exactly what outcomes we gain by this almost constant contact with dialogue with the public. I think we have so many multiple ways that we're communicating with the public that, you know, it's hard to say which one worked or what is working. But I actually really believe that because we have such a constant contact and dialogue, that this is part of the reason we have a drop in our suspension rates, our graduation rates have increased, our achievement gap has decreased. We've expanded our pre-K offerings. Over half of our students are attending some type of summer program, and we have world-class arts programs. And I think these are all things that are results in some part because of our community dialogue. I think the board is very responsive to the community, and I think they feel heard, and I think the staff feels heard. Most of the meetings that I attend or that I speak at, I really would call it listening tours. I think we're listening to people's needs, and that's really what we're doing when we go out to these events. And I think what we're trying to do is come up with solutions. That's our attempt. But I think because of our constant dialogue that our school has seen really great improvements. I'd like to ask Dr. Atkins what she'd like to add about that.
You know, Amy, you make such good points about the changes in the culture in our school division. Engaging the public is a way of saying to your community that you are valued and that the business that we conduct here in a school division is all about the community. It's all about providing a service to the community, to the young people and the families in the community, and giving them confidence that their student will be well educated. When board members are out serving as ambassadors and engaging every segment of our diverse community and hearing them, giving them the message that we want your input and we value your input, that means that we're going to have more supporters who are there for us, who are ready to volunteer, who are ready to lend support to the initiatives that are going on, and then we'll become quasi-ambassadors for our school division. So the goodwill and the communication expands tremendously because we have board members who are moving about the community and engaging the community in very creative and meaningful ways, and those political ways, those practical ways, and those timely ways to get our message out, to tell our story. I think sometimes in public education we have a tendency, probably more often than we would like, to depend on print media or television media to tell about what we're doing in our school division. Well, we have 7 board members, and those 7 board members are our ambassadors. So they can reach the same audience that our print and television media can reach, but they tell the story from our perspective. And they can give firsthand accounts of what's going on in the classrooms because they go in the classrooms. They've read the reports, they hear the reports, they ask questions. So when they go out in the community, it is an exchange of information, and it's credible. And so they help to shape the community's perception of who we are in multiple ways. And that opens the door for volunteers, for donations, for all kinds of support that's critical to the well-being of a school division and the young people and the teachers and the staff that are in the division.